It's going okay. Kicking it off here. We're live here on StreamYard. I'm streaming to my personal page, also streaming to my business page, Race to Win, and on YouTube. So if you miss it and you want to get the replay, you can go on my personal page or my business page, or you can go on my internet. Lydia Ford International Ministries YouTube channel. And if you're not a subscriber, please sign up. It doesn't cost you anything, it's free. And you will see all of my Facebook Lives as far as early morning tea. There's a lot on there now. There's some other preaching, there's some other teaching on there as well. Because I've had that Lydia Ford International Ministries YouTube channel for quite a while, but I'm trying to build that up. So I would love to have more subscribers. So please go to that page on YouTube and subscribe. Again, it's free. Well, today is, oh my gosh, it's the 20th of November, just a few more days, and we will be celebrating Thanksgiving. And you know, once Thanksgiving gets here, it's just a hot minute, bam, snap your finger, and Christmas will be on the cusp of it. So today and Wednesday, Lord willing, I want to talk about how to navigate, how to engage with, how to get through the holidays. We want to talk about holiday grief, how to cope with loss during what is supposed to be and generally is a joyous time of celebration with family and friends. We're talking about Thanksgiving and we're talking about Christmas because they're so close together. So I found this article by Arlen, I can't even say the last name, Kunnick, and it was published November the 1st, 2022, which was just last year. Arlen, ARLINCUNCIC. And a lot of his information is similar to information that I share with my clients about how to navigate and how to cope with the holidays, coping with their grief, whether it's a relatively new loss or whether you have been, grieving, mourning, going through bereavement for 6 months, 9 months, a year, even 2, 4, 5. There's no amount of time actually when we're talking about grieving because it affects your mentally, affects you emotionally, it affects you spiritually. And personally, I have experienced different types of grief reactions, even 12, 13 years now after my daughter and my husband have passed. They don't last as long as they did, I would say, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 7 years ago. But I still have some type of feeling, some type of emotional attachment, of course, to my loved ones that have transitioned because of your great love. The more you love, the deeper you love, the more grief reactions you're going to have when these holidays come to pass or when it's a year after your loved one has passed. And it's okay. I have learned not to punish myself. I've learned not to go into a deep depression over it, but that takes time. So today I want to kind of help you navigate and give you some tips or some strategies how to cope with grief during the holidays. So it's the holiday season, and it's a time that's supposed to be joyful and festive. But for many people, this time of year can be difficult, especially if you or someone you care about, is struggling with the loss of a loved one. If you're feeling grief this holiday season, know, I want you to know and understand, comprehend, you are not alone. You are not alone. There are thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people that are going through what you are currently going through. It can be particularly difficult to deal with grief during the holidays. I'm telling you. hard because of all of the myriad of memories that have accumulated up here in your brain, those particular days and weeks and months leading up to Christmas, leading up to Thanksgiving. It's hard, okay? It's hard grieving during holidays. Holiday traditions may serve as a reminder of what has been lost. It can serve as a reminder of the happiness that you used to share with your loved ones when they were down here with you on earth. And so when they come upon you, and they kind of sneak up on you at times, it leaves you feeling isolated. It leaves you feeling alone. It can leave you feeling depressed. All right. And not even wanting to open up your eyes when Thanksgiving morning comes or when Christmas morning comes. However, there are ways to cope with holiday grief in order to feel more supported during the season. Okay. There are ways to cope with holiday grief in order to feel more supportive during this season. And by the way, did I tell you my name is Lydia Ford, and I help people who are stuck in grief to get unstuck. And I always start with that, and I don't know why I didn't. I just kind of just jump right in because this topic is so sensitive and so important to me because I know that I needed this grief help during the holiday. And a lot of times people don't want to confront it. Right now, I don't even have anybody watching me. People don't want to talk about it because it's so hard. It's so difficult at times. But here are some tips, okay? How to approach those struggles. We need to learn how to even approach people that are grieving, people that are struggling with grief and loss. So let me just take a sip of my early morning tea. This is my early morning tea cup. Ooh, I got all my lipstick on this side. I don't want you to see that side. I do want you to see the side that says early morning tea. This is tea that my friend Helen gave me from Kenya. This is Kenyan tea. How to approach those struggling with loss. It can be challenging to approach someone who is grieving during the holiday season. You may be worried about saying the wrong thing or making them feel worse. However, it's important to reach out and offer your care and support. Clinical psychologist and author of the book Focused Positivity, The Path to Success and Peace of Mind by John Tholen, Tholen, PhD, says this, that the best way to approach others who are struggling with a major loss or who are likely to have had their grief exacerbated by confronting a first holiday season without the loved one is usually to do nothing, watch this, nothing more than validate how they feel. Make it clear that we care and want to be of help, and then be guided by what they say. Be guided by their response. I'm going to say that again because that is major. The best way to approach others who are struggling with a major loss or who are likely to have had their grief exacerbated by confronting a first holiday without their loved one, the best thing you and I could do for our friends and loved ones is to usually do nothing more than validate how they are feeling. Make it clear that we care about them and that we want to help them. And then we have to be guided by what they say, guided by their response. According to Tholen, examples of potentially appropriate things to say include this. I can only imagine. Please pay close attention this morning. Say something like this. I can only imagine how difficult it must be for you to face the holidays without, in whoever that person named, Jim, Tom, Betty, Susie. Or I want you to know that I care and want to help however I can. Because sometimes there are just some practical things that you can do to assist people who have to go through the holidays without their loved ones. Here are some tips on just how to approach someone who is grieving If you have a notebook, if you have a piece of paper, jot this down. Or you can go back and listen to this listen to this live again, and you can listen and get a piece of paper, and as I'm giving them, write them out, stop the broadcast, go to the next one, stop it, and write. Very important. Acknowledge their loss. Acknowledge their loss. It's okay to say something to them about what happened, but avoid phrases like at least, or it was for the best, or God needed another angel up there to watch. Don't say stuff like that. Don't say, I know how you feel. Okay. Number two, listen. Number one is acknowledge their loss. Acknowledge it. Number two is listen. You got two of these and one of these. So the reason you got two of these is because God wants us to use these more than we use this right here, because these lips can also get us in trouble, and we can wind up hurting people rather than helping them. So listen. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just listen. Let them talk about their loved one and their grief, and avoid giving advice or telling them how they should feel. You can't tell me how I should feel about losing my father, my mother, my daughter, my sister, my brother. You can't tell me how I should feel, because I feel like how I feel. That's number two. Offer, watch this. I love this one, and I talk about this a lot. Offer or extend practical help. Ask if there's anything you can do to help, rather running errands, cooking a meal, or just sitting with them in silence. You can also take the initiative to do something to make their life easier, as it may be overwhelming for someone who's grieving to have to think of anything else to do. Maybe they have little kids or toddlers, and they need help this year with Christmas shopping. They might need help decorating the house, or maybe they don't even want to do that, but help with some practical things. Be patient. Number four. Okay. Acknowledge their loss. Listen. Offer practical help. And number four, be patient. Grief is a process, and it doesn't happen overnight. Allow them the time they need to heal. People need time to heal. Each person grieves in their own way and at their own pace. Extend compassion and grace, and do not judge them for the time or ways that they may express their grief and move through the bereavement process. Don't judge. All right? Extend them compassion, extend them grace. Don't judge them for the time, how much time, or how many ways, or the ways that they choose to express their grief. The best way to approach others who are struggling with a major loss is usually to do nothing more than validate their feelings and make it clear that you care and want to be of help. And then again, be guided by their response. Now I want to talk about how to keep the spirit of a loved one alive during the holidays. And that can be quite a challenge, because you're grieving, but then you have life to go on. Life must go on as long as you're breathing, as long as you got your arm, your limbs, and this body, and your heart is still beating, your lungs are still working and pushing out air. You got to go on with your life. So here are some ways to keep the spirit of a loved one alive during the holiday season. If you're struggling with loss this holiday, there are still ways to keep their spirit close if it feels true. Now, if it feels true and honoring for you to do so. I'm going to say that again. If you're struggling with the loss of a loved one this holiday season, there are still ways to keep their spirit close or alive, only if it feels true and honorable to do so. Licensed grief counselors, marriage and family therapists will tell you that it's important to talk about your loved one. It's important to talk about Jesse. It's important to talk about Susie. It's important to talk about Mary and Martha. Share stories with other people who miss them too. You ain't the only one that missed them. However, your unique relationship to them supersedes anybody else's. But other people miss your loved ones as well. So talk about them. Talk about the fact that you missed them too, and maybe give an example about what you miss about that person. And use their name. Use their name in the conversation. Don't obscure it. Don't act like you don't know their name. Use their name. Try to keep a fun memory alive. Growing up, we used to do secret. This author says, growing up, they used to do secret donuts with dad, even though my mom was in on it and just didn't want to partake of it. But anytime I get donuts with my own kids, be it a holiday or just because, we always talk about my dad and the secret donuts. There are lots of humorous stories that we could tell about our loved ones. So don't be afraid to share those with your friends, your family, and especially your kids or your grandkids. Okay, share stories with other people who miss them too. Use their name in the conversations and try to keep a fun and a lively memory, okay, before them. It's a great idea to continue to practice, and I advise participating in traditions, holiday traditions that remind you of your loved one. It's a great idea to continue to practice, participate in traditions that you and your family members enjoyed because they can remind you of your loved one. So, example, if you love visiting a Christmas tree farm and picking out a tree with your husband, with your wife, or your kids, by all means, invite your family or a close friend to go with you and pick out a tree. Could be a co-worker too. If your tradition consists of putting up lights the day after Thanksgiving, then continue to find joy in doing that as well. Or it's okay to start a brand new tradition. If you had turkey for Thanksgiving, perhaps you may choose to have a seafood buffet this year. It's your life. It's okay to keep the tradition, or it's okay to start a brand new tradition. Don't be afraid to embrace the emotions also that any of these activities bring up. Don't be scared. There's an acronym or that we say about friends. Keep make good friends. It says it's a slogan, okay, a mantra. Keep good, make good friends, but keep the old. One is silver and the other is gold. So keep that which has been working for you and your family for years, but don't be afraid to make new traditions. Here are some other ways to keep their spirit, your loved one's spirit alive for the holidays. Decorate in their favorite colors. If your mama loved purple, like my mom loved purple, and my daughter loved purple too, and my grandchildren loved purple, one of them, two of them like purple, then decorate your house or your apartment with their favorite colors. Play their favorite holiday songs. I know in my family, we like that Nat King Cole Christmas album. My husband loved that. He loved that album. He would play it, the CD, whatever. It was on album first, okay? But he would play the chestnuts roasting on an open. He loved that. That would get him in the holiday spirit. Play their favorite holiday songs. Prepare their favorite holiday dishes. My husband loved pig feet. So if he didn't get it for Christmas, he was made sure he got it for the new year. He loved chitterlings. My whole family, my dad, my mom, they like chitterlings, hog maw, pig feet, barbecue. They didn't care how it was. And I didn't make that. But he did. Now, we don't do that anymore. Okay. That kind of, but my mom, if she could get her hands on some pig feet or some chitterlings right now for the holidays, She would. In memory of my dad, because she would be making them chitlins and hog maw and pig feet for the holidays. Okay. Me, not so much, but because my kids couldn't stand the smell of chitlins and they was like, pig feet, who does that? Who eats that? But prepare their favorite holiday dishes. Tell stories about your loved ones, especially if you have grandchildren and if you have great grandchildren, like my mom has 8 great grandchildren. And they would love to hear some of the stories of what they did and how they celebrated holidays with their great grandfather. Okay. Um, Include your family members and your friends in holiday traditions. Display pictures of them. Don't hide them. Don't keep the pictures of your loved ones, your dearly departed, in boxes and suitcases. Display them. I don't have room to display all the pictures of my family because I have so many pictures and so many albums and even in frames. I just don't have the room. But I have a table in my kitchen, in my living room. It's a round table. So all the pictures of my grandchildren, my son and his wife, are on top of that table. So display pictures of them prominently and light a candle if that's what you do. If you love candles, my mother loves the scent of candles. She bought several candles last week or week before that. If you love the scent and the smell of holiday candles, buy some candles, light a candle in their memory. But no matter how you choose to honor your loved one on this holiday season, know that they will always be with you in spirit. There's a way to keep them close to you, even though they are not physically with you. You can keep them in your spirit. Now, this talks about what to know about the acceptance stage of grief, how to lean in to the support of others. And it's important to lean in and not shy away, not back up from those that love you and that want to support you during this time. If you're grieving this holiday season, it's important to lean into the support of others. It's important to let people know when you're struggling and what might be a trigger, because there are some triggers for all of us. It could be the smell of your mom's apple sweet potato pie. It could be the smell of that turkey cooking in the oven. It could be the smell of perfume. It could be a song. All right. So we need to know how to support people. Okay. Say, for example, last year I was on a group text with 2 of my best friends, and they were excitingly talking about Christmas movies. You know, Hallmark is famous for Christmas movies, right? And now they've included more African Americans in their holiday movies. Okay, so say my friends were talking about holiday movies and maybe the Hallmark channel, what was going to be on. All right, they're in a chat, they're in a text. And every time I picked up my phone and saw these texts, I felt like I was being stabbed in the heart by a tiny sword. So I would ask them if they wouldn't mind. This is what I could do if that's a trigger for me. This is what I should do. These are my BFFs. This is what I should do. Ask them if they wouldn't mind moving their Christmas movie talk, their Christmas movie text to another text because it's too hard for me. Take me out the group chat. Because I don't want to be reminded of the Hallmark movies that I used to sit with my husband and we used to watch them, or I sat with my mom, or I sat with my sister, or my BFF. I don't want to be in your chat. Can you please move it to another chat, or just take me out the conversation altogether? Because that's a trigger for me. Okay. Here are some other ways to lean into the support of others. Seek out a grief support group. This can be a great way to connect with others who understand what you're going through. This is a great way to allow others to see what you're really going through. Talk to a therapist. Talk to a grief counselor, such as myself, Grace to Win Grief Counseling Services. You can find me scrolling at the bottom of your screen. All right. Get in touch with me. All right. Spend time with supportive family and friends. Surround yourself with people who will make you feel loved and supported. Get involved in your community. This is one of the best things to do when you're going through bereavement, whether it's 6 months, whether it's 9 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years. Volunteering or other activities can help take your mind off your grief and make you feel good about helping others. I know that when my son and I were going through the bereavement period, my daughter, my husband, one of the things my son would do was get involved in his community, his fraternity, feeding folk. Okay, feeding folk at this community center in Hartford, feeding folk, the homeless, folk that were out of a job, even possibly people that didn't have no family. He would do that every year. And in my ministry, we would make Thanksgiving baskets, Christmas baskets. We're doing that. And I'm not even up there in Connecticut, but we're doing that still. It's a tradition. We want to help them. But things like that take your mind off your grief. It takes your mind off your pain. The more you can focus on helping other families, helping other people like you, the less time you have to moan and groan and feel sorry for yourself. Why? Because you're supporting someone else who's dealing with what you're dealing with. Get involved. Volunteer at soup kitchens. Volunteer wrapping gifts for children. Just find something to take your mind off, something constructive. Okay? Because sometimes we can live vicariously through other people who are grieving as well. But it will make you feel good because the Bible says that whenever an opportunity exists or comes up, it's a great time to do good to those that are particularly in the household of faith. Okay, we're to help one another, undergird one another. No one should have to deal with grief all by themselves because there's plenty of support available. So don't be afraid to reach out to me. www.thegrace, and it's the number 2, the Grace to Win, or Grace to Win 720 at Gmail. That's my personal, that's actually my business email. Grace to Win. It's scrolling at the bottom. Okay. www.gracetowin720.com. It's at the bottom. And then there are other mental health therapists, mental health care providers. You can find them on the internet. All right. You can find them. They're out there. Lots of support out there. Don't be afraid to reach out. Grief can be difficult to deal with at any time, but it can be especially hard during the holidays. Grace to Win, and that's my business, recognizes that your feelings are valid and to expect that they may be unpredictable. Your grief reaction during the holidays can be very unpredictable. I was reading about one of my friends, and she's a young woman, Sarah. I can't think of Sarah's, Sarah Woodward was her maiden name, but she was talking about something the other day that triggered her response, a grief response related to her mom, Janet. Her name was Janet, a wonderful woman of God. And it was, I can't remember, so I don't want to misquote it, but it was something that she used to help her mother with. It had to do with technology, because I can attest to that, because I was always calling my daughter about something with the new phone, and then with Facebook, when Facebook came out, I was bugging her all the time. So it was something related to technology that just popped up. It was a trigger. It popped up because she remembered how her mom would call her and ask her to help her with something related to technology. And it just threw her right back in that moment of grief. It was a trigger. So we don't know what may trigger someone's grief reaction, but it's okay. We have to validate how people feel, all right? And expect that these triggers can be unpredictable. They can come from nowhere. And it's okay if the holidays it's okay if the holidays make you feel totally fine. And it's okay if you want to go and hide under a blanket until the new year, until January. It's okay. Because, I wrote this PDF. It's called It's My Grief, Not Yours. So the way I choose to walk it out is unique to my experience, and you don't have to go along with it, because it's my grief. It's not yours. It's personal. The hardest thing is not knowing which one is going to be a grief trigger, or I don't want to call it a grief attack, but It's a trigger. We don't know. It's unpredictable. We don't know how it's going to show up. But the best thing to do is to prepare. Is to prepare a grief plan. Have a grief plan. Have a memorial. Have a way to recognize. Have a way to celebrate your loved one during the holiday. Pre-plan it, just like you're going to pre-plan. Most of us, Thanksgiving dinner, Christmas dinner, we're going to know what we're going to fix and who's going to do this and who's going to do that. If you're going to have a lot of people over, you can pre-plan how to celebrate your loved one during the holiday. Don't let it sneak up on you, because then that's when unpredictable things happen. That's when triggers happen, and it can throw you back weeks, months, years. So pre-plan, how are you going to celebrate? What are you going to do? All right. And don't let whatever it is that you're planning take up your whole day. Plan a specific amount of time that you're going to spend celebrating, acknowledging your loved one, and then plan 3/4 of the rest of the day in celebration. Again, come up, celebrate old traditions or create new traditions. Invite your friends, your family. And if you want to be alone, and if you want to watch whatever it is you want to do that's going to make you happy, that's going to get you through these holidays, you do that. Okay. So here are some tips to help move you through that process during the holidays. Acknowledge your grief, because it's okay to feel sad during the holidays. And don't try to bottle up your emotions or pretend everything is okay. And when it's not. A study published in Psychosomatic Medicine found that people who suppress their grief experience more mental health. So don't do it. Don't put a lid on it. Don't put a cork in it. Let your emotions out. Feel them deeply. Talk about your loved one. Keep their memory alive. Keeping their memory alive can be a source of comfort. Writing in a grief journal can be another way to process your grief. Do a mural. All right. Talk to someone who understands. If you're struggling to cope with grief, talk to a friend or a family member who has been through a similar experience that can be helpful. All right. Get in touch with me. Grace to Win Grief Counseling Services, especially if this is your third or fourth holiday season and you you're stuck in grief. I don't want you to be stuck. Because listen, your identity, your purpose is never predicated upon what you have lost, whether it's a person, whether it's a place or a thing. Your purpose, your identity is found in your Creator, because He's the one that created you. He's the one that knows everything about you. He's the one that still has a viable, perfect plan for your life, a plan and a purpose for your life that He is expecting you to move in through. Regardless of what losses we experience in life, He still has a great plan and purpose for your life. So talk to someone who understands. At Grace to Win, you can have a 30-minute free consultation. All right. Take things one day at a time. Grief is a process and it takes time. So don't rush it. You can't measure your grief against your best friend. You can't measure your grief against your sister or your brother. You can't measure your grief against your mother or your father. It takes time. It's personal. It's unique to your experience, how you related to that individual. Take care of yourself. I say this all the time. Be sure to take care of your physical and emotional needs during this time. Eat healthy meals. Get plenty of rest. Find ways to relax, de-stress. Go and get your nails done. Have a mani-pedi. Go get a massage. But take care of yourself. Buy a new outfit. Buy a new pair of boots, a new pair of shoes. Buy a pair of whatever it takes on your budget, whatever it's going to take to put a smile on your face. Sometimes taking care of yourself means taking care of somebody else, doing something to put a smile on somebody else's face, and then you won't be focused on you. Do what feels right for you. There is no right or wrong way to deal with grief. Do what feels most comfortable for you, whether spending time alone or being around other people. Being around other people. There are lots of plays, Nutcracker, Kirk Franklin's tour. There's a lot of things happening that you can get involved with during Christmas. No one experiences grief in exactly the same way. So there is no right or wrong way to grieve. Do what feels right for you. No, there's no timeline for healing. And if you're struggling with grief during this holiday, no, you're not alone. There are millions of people that feel like you do. There are people and resources available to help you through this tough time. And if you or a loved one are struggling with a loss, there are contact substance abuse and mental health agencies. It's called SAM, like Sam, HSA. SAMHSA. There's the National Helpline, all right? 1-800-662-4357 for information on support and treatment facilities in your area. There are a lot of mental health resources. You can just call or get in touch or Google or use Bing, use AI, use Bing, contact the National Helpline database if you're struggling in any of those areas. Okay, those are just some other resources. But if you need and I thank God for technology because I do all of my grief counseling by way of Meet Up, or I can do it via Zoom. Okay, and you can be in California and still be receiving grief therapy from me here in the Triangle area of Wake Forest, North Carolina. Again, all of my information is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. I would be delighted to help navigate you, not just through the holiday, but if you're stuck in grief and you've been stuck for a while, that is one of my passions, to help people who are stuck in grief to get unstuck, to help you not just cope with your grief reactions, but to help you to thrive, not just survive, not just barely make it. Okay, with the essentials. No, I want you to thrive. I want you to accept the loss of your loved one. I want to take you through strategies and give you tools that will help you manage from where you are to where you desire to be, because we all don't want to just stay stuck. We don't want to be miserable for the rest of our life. We have expectations too. Okay, you ought to be expecting more of your life than just grieving and crying and being in that dark place. At Grace to Win, we don't want you to remain at that dark place or in that dark place. We want you to thrive. We want you to understand and know your identity is not attached to a role you played in someone's life. And then when that role is no longer there, you're at wit's end. You don't know what to do with yourself. No. I want to help you to discover you again. I want to help you reimagine your life moving forward in strength, not in weakness. So everything is scrolling at the bottom. As a matter of fact, we have a 15% discount on those who will engage in at least a minimum of 6 months grief counseling. You can receive 15% off during the Black Friday, we call it Black Friday holiday weekend, up until Sunday midnight. So contact me today. I'm giving you information today, as I've been doing for quite a while now, and I decided not to start my new book today, devotional, which is going to be From Broken Bread to Poured Out Wine. But today and on Wednesday, I want to give you some more information about how you can cope through this holiday season. And you know what? We don't even like to discuss it. We don't even want to broach the conversation. I don't have anybody right now on because I posted maybe. We just don't want to deal with it, but you're going to have to deal with it, because once we are appointed to live, and there's another appointment that we're going to keep it. No, nobody knew when they were going to come into this world, and nobody knows the day and the hour and the time we're going to go out. And death is an appointment. Death definitely is an appointment that we're all going to have to keep. But everybody want to live and nobody wants to die. And guess what? There is a good way to grieve and there's a bad way to grieve also. All right. There's a good way and there's a bad way. So this week we're going to talk about, probably Wednesday, we'll talk about what is good grief and what is not so good grief. All right. So I pray that I said something again. I don't see anyone here, but I know through technology, you will be able to see this broadcast again. It's on my personal page. It's on my business page. It's on my YouTube page. So you will be able to see it and you will be able to share it with somebody else. Okay. So God bless you. This is Lydia Ford. I help people who are stuck in grief to get unstuck through my grief counseling services, Grace, and it's the number 2, Grace to Win. Every information that you need is scrolling in yellow at the bottom. God bless you, and I will see you, hopefully more of you on Wednesday. Have a wonderful day.